The sun dipped low over the red rocks of Sedona, casting an amber glow that seemed to breathe life into the very landscape. I stood on the porch of our rented vacation home, watching as my family settled in for what was supposed to be a week of laughter and bonding. My mother fussed over the arrangements inside, her voice ringing out with reminders and suggestions. Meanwhile, my partner flipped through channels on the television, clearly uninterested in the family dynamics unfolding around us. It was supposed to be a simple getaway, a chance to escape the mundane routine of daily life and reconnect with loved ones. Yet, as I watched my cousin's son unpack his things in the adjacent room, an unexpected flutter stirred within me. He was just a young man, full of ambition and charm, but there was something about him that drew me in. I dismissed it as absurd. After all, he was family, albeit distant. "Did you bring enough clothes for this trip?" my mother called out from inside, her tone light but carrying an underlying insistence that we all participate in family activities. I chuckled softly to myself. The thought of packing for a week felt trivial compared to what I was feeling. The attraction was unwelcome and confusing. I had no business feeling this way about someone so much younger and related by blood. Later that evening, we gathered around the dining table for dinner. The aroma of roasted chicken filled the air as laughter echoed off the walls. Conversations flowed easily among everyone except me. My mind wandered back to those fleeting glances exchanged earlier when he caught my eye while reaching for a serving dish. A moment passed between us, an unspoken recognition that sent warmth rushing through me. After dinner, we decided to head out to a local cafe known for its artisanal coffee and homemade pastries. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as families and friends gathered around small tables, sharing stories and laughter beneath twinkling fairy lights strung across the outdoor patio. I found myself seated next to him at a corner table, our knees brushing against each other unintentionally yet lingeringly. As we sipped our drinks, his choice being an espresso while I opted for chai, I noticed how easy it was to talk with him about everything and nothing at all. "Do you hike often?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Only when I can find someone willing to go with me," I replied lightly. He grinned, a genuine smile that made my heart skip a beat. "I know some great trails around here." For a moment, it felt like we were two people without any familial ties, just two souls connecting over shared interests under the vast Arizona sky. As night fell and we returned home, tension hung thick in the air during our family game night. Board games sprawled across the living room floor while laughter erupted intermittently from various corners of the house. Yet beneath this facade of fun lay an undercurrent of unspoken emotions, especially when it came time for charades. When my turn arrived, I acted out a scene from a popular movie while everyone shouted guesses back at me. It was all light-hearted until I caught his gaze again, intense yet playful, and suddenly everything else faded away. "Time's up," someone called out as laughter erupted once more. I felt heat rising in my cheeks as I stole another glance at him across the room. There it was again, the connection that seemed undeniable yet wrong at its core. The evening wore on with more games and laughter until exhaustion began creeping in like shadows on the walls. As people started drifting off to bed one by one, I lingered by the fireplace alone for just a moment longer than necessary. The crackling flames danced before me while thoughts swirled chaotically in my mind. What was happening? Why couldn't I shake this feeling? As if sensing my turmoil, he appeared beside me unexpectedly, a shadow against flickering light, and offered a soft smile that sent shivers down my spine. "Can't sleep?" he asked quietly. "Just thinking," I replied cautiously. He leaned against the mantelpiece beside me, our shoulders brushed together lightly but meaningfully, an electric touch that sent ripples through my body even as reason screamed at me to step back. "I get it," he said softly after a pause, his gaze fixed on the flames rather than meeting mine directly as if afraid of what might happen if he did. I held my breath. Every instinct told me this connection could lead somewhere dangerous yet intoxicatingly thrilling all at once. Then came an unexpected twist. You know, he continued tentatively, there's something about being here. It feels different. My heart raced as curiosity mingled with caution within me like wine spilling from an overturned glass, messy yet vivid against stark reality. Before I could respond or deflect his words into safer territory, footsteps echoed down the hall toward us, the unmistakable sound of family members returning from their late-night conversations or perhaps simply seeking one last snack before bed. In that instant of interruption came clarity. Whatever had been brewing between us would need to remain hidden beneath layers of familial bonds and expectations, or risk unraveling everything around us entirely. As they entered, their voices filling space like confetti, I turned away instinctively toward safety, but not before catching one last glimpse of him watching me intently. Those deep eyes full of unspoken possibilities lingered like ghosts long after they left. And so began this tangled web woven amidst family ties, a dance between desire and duty where every stolen glance held weight beyond mere attraction. The next day unfolded with a heavy cloud of anticipation hanging over me. Family outings in Sedona had always been filled with laughter and shared stories, but this time, a tension simmered beneath the surface. The morning sun bathed the red rocks in a warm glow, yet I found myself shivering at the thought of what had transpired. As we gathered for breakfast, my heart raced with every passing moment. The casual chatter of relatives filled the air, but I felt detached, lost in my thoughts. He sat across from me, nonchalantly discussing plans for our hike later that day. His voice was smooth and inviting, but it only served to heighten my inner turmoil. "Are you ready for today's adventure?" he asked, a teasing smile playing on his lips. "Of course," I replied, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. How could I possibly explain the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me? After breakfast, we set out toward a nearby trailhead. The group was lively, animated by the beauty surrounding us. Yet I couldn't shake off the feeling that something had shifted between us. Every brush of his arm against mine sent jolts of electricity through me, an uninvited reminder of our shared moment from the previous night. As we hiked deeper into the stunning landscape, I caught snippets of laughter and conversation from family members around me. But my focus remained locked on him, the way he moved effortlessly among us, how his eyes sparkled when he spoke about the sights we were about to see. When we reached a particularly breathtaking viewpoint, everyone paused to take pictures and admire the scenery. I lingered behind as they gathered at the edge of the cliff to capture memories on their phones. The world felt distant as I stepped back from the group, needing space to breathe. He noticed my absence almost immediately and wandered over to join me. "What's wrong?" he asked softly, concern etched across his features. I shook my head dismissively but felt my heart racing as he stepped closer. "Just taking it all in," I murmured. The truth was far more complicated than that. Guilt gnawed at me like an insatiable beast. My mind raced with thoughts of family loyalty and societal expectations while simultaneously yearning for something forbidden that seemed just beyond reach. A sudden gust of wind rustled through the trees as dark clouds gathered overhead, a stark contrast to our earlier sunny outing. The sky rumbled ominously in response, adding an unexpected urgency to our exploration. "Looks like rain," he said casually, glancing up at the gathering storm clouds. Before long, droplets began to fall, quickly escalating into a downpour that sent us scrambling for shelter under a nearby rock overhang. We huddled together out of instinct more than necessity, warmth radiated between us despite the chill in the air. "Guess this wasn't part of our plan," he chuckled lightly as we settled into our temporary refuge. I smiled weakly but felt tension building again between us, the air thick with unspoken words and lingering glances that danced dangerously close to crossing an invisible line. In that intimate space away from prying eyes, something shifted again, vulnerability seeped through each heartbeat echoing between us like thunder rumbling above. "I can't stop thinking about last night," he confessed suddenly, breaking through my spiraling thoughts. My breath caught in my throat as his gaze bore into mine, intense yet questioning, searching for answers amidst uncertainty. Neither can I admitted quietly before realizing what those words meant. They held weight beyond mere acknowledgement. And then it happened, a moment suspended in time where everything else faded away. We kissed. The world outside faded into oblivion as our lips met tentatively at first, then with increasing urgency, as if acknowledging an unspoken truth that had lingered too long in silence. The kiss ignited something deep within me, a spark that threatened to consume everything I'd held dear before this moment arrived, uninvited yet undeniably welcome, a collision between desire and guilt so potent it left me breathless afterward. We pulled apart slowly as reality crashed back around us like waves against rocky shores. Shame washed over me instantly after tasting sweetness mingled with regret beneath every heartbeat, echoing loudly against stone walls surrounding us now. Walls built by family ties meant to bind rather than break apart what should remain untouched forevermore. "What do we do now?" he asked softly when our breathing steadied slightly. Uncertainty hung thick between us like fog rolling through valleys below, a reminder that choices made could lead down paths paved with consequences neither one of us wanted to face just yet. "I don't know," came my reply, a whisper barely audible above drumming raindrops echoing around us like nature's own judgment upon our actions taken outside familial expectations set forth long ago. Moments passed before gathering storm clouds finally unleashed their fury upon Sedona's landscape. Thunder boomed overhead while rain poured down relentlessly. But within this tempest lay clarity hidden underneath layers built by years spent conforming instead of exploring, desires buried deep beneath surface-level connections formed throughout life shared together thus far. As we waited out nature's tantrum sheltered together beneath rocky ledges shielding sunlight now obscured completely, it became clear how fragile everything truly was surrounding us here. Our families awaited return, unaware of secrets exchanged during fleeting moments shared under stormy skies above, each heartbeat marked by heavy weight carried forward into uncertain futures ahead. "I should go find them," I said reluctantly after what felt like an eternity spent lost within raw honesty shared between two souls grappling fiercely against boundaries drawn long ago. Invisible lines separating right from wrong blurred hopelessly now amidst chaos unfolding all around. He nodded slowly, understanding without words spoken aloud, the weight pressing down heavily upon both shoulders carried forward together even amidst distance growing wider still despite closeness felt earlier. It was inevitable choices made would ripple outward affecting more than just ourselves alone. Stepping back into reality felt daunting. The world outside awaited beyond fragile shelter offered here within rock walls built strong enough only temporarily masking truths revealed earlier today. As we emerged from hiding place cloaked by nature's fury raging still overhead, I couldn't shake feeling something pivotal had shifted irrevocably forevermore. The rain had finally ceased, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. The air felt thick with unspoken words and unresolved tension. We stepped out from our makeshift sanctuary, the dampness of our clothes clinging to our skin, yet the warmth of what had just transpired lingered between us like an electric charge. I could hardly breathe, caught in a whirlwind of emotions that swirled around me like the mist rising from the ground. As we made our way back toward the house, I couldn't help but glance at him, my heart racing with each step. The laughter and chatter of family members drifted through the open windows, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath our surface. I had never imagined I could feel so alive yet so conflicted at once. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly, his voice barely audible over the distant sounds of my family enjoying their evening. "Yeah," I replied, though it felt like a lie. "Just processing everything." He nodded, understanding etched across his features. "I didn't mean for things to get so complicated." "Neither did I admitted, looking away as guilt washed over me. The weight of my partner's presence loomed large in my mind. How could I justify this? How could I betray someone who had stood by me through thick and thin? Yet the magnetic pull toward him was undeniable. As we reached the porch steps, our eyes locked for a fleeting moment that seemed to stretch into eternity. It was as if time paused just for us, all that existed were those seconds filled with uncertainty and desire. And then it happened, without thinking or planning, our lips met. A soft brush at first, hesitant yet charged with everything we had been holding back. It felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Suddenly, a loud voice broke through our bubble. A cousin called out from inside the house. "Hey! Are you two coming in or what?" Reality crashed back down like thunder after lightning strikes. We quickly pulled apart, breathless and wide-eyed as if we had been caught in a scandalous act, an unthinkable betrayal against family. "Let's go inside," he suggested hastily, glancing around to ensure no one else had seen us. I nodded again, but dread settled in my stomach like a stone as we rejoined the lively atmosphere inside. The family was gathered around the dining table, plates piled high with food and laughter spilling over like wine from 2 full glasses. They were blissfully unaware of what lay hidden beneath their cheerful banter. I took my seat between my partner and another family member who was animatedly recounting stories from childhood vacations spent here in Sedona. Each laugh felt hollow as I wrestled with my own internal chaos, my heart tugging me toward one person while my mind screamed reminders of loyalty and commitment to another. After dinner concluded and plates were cleared away, someone proposed a game, a board game that had been a staple during family gatherings for years. As everyone settled down around the table again, I tried to focus on the rules being explained but found myself stealing glances at him instead. He caught my gaze once more and offered a small smile that sent warmth flooding through me despite everything swirling in my mind. It was an unspoken bond. We were sharing something deeper than mere attraction now. This was complex emotional territory that blurred lines drawn by familial ties. The game began innocently enough. Laughter erupted as people joked about their strategies or missteps on the board. But beneath it all simmered an undercurrent of tension that felt palpable only to us two, the secret shared between glances exchanged when no one was watching. As rounds progressed, it became harder to maintain composure when every accidental brush of hands sent jolts through me while fear lurked just outside our bubble, a fear of discovery that loomed larger with each passing moment together. Midway through the game night, chaos erupted when one cousin spilled juice all over another's lap, a momentary distraction that sent everyone into fits of laughter and playful teasing about clumsiness in adulthood. It also provided us an unexpected opportunity for escape. Slipping away unnoticed seemed almost too easy amidst all the commotion surrounding us now. "Let's take a breather," he suggested quietly as we both rose from our seats simultaneously. I followed him outside onto the porch where cool air greeted us like an old friend, a stark contrast to the warmth radiating from within moments earlier among family members oblivious to our plight. "I can't keep doing this," I confessed once we were alone again under starlit skies dotted with shimmering constellations overhead, an ironic backdrop for such turmoil brewing within me against familial expectations. "I know," he replied softly but firmly, determination etched into his brow as he leaned closer toward me again, the distance between us evaporating once more despite knowing better than to cross boundaries set long ago by bloodlines intertwined forevermore. "What if someone finds out?" My voice trembled slightly even though deep down part of me craved this connection fiercely despite consequences looming large ahead still. "We'll figure it out," he assured me confidently yet uncertainly, his own fears flickering behind those dark eyes reflecting moonlight softly illuminating everything around us now too brightly perhaps. But before anything else could be said or done further along this precarious path leading nowhere good fast, I heard footsteps approaching from behind suddenly breaking through fragile peace we'd found together momentarily alone outside. A shadow fell across us just as uncertainty gripped tightly around my heart once more. Anticipation mixed with dread flooded through veins coursing rapidly now. "Hey! What are you doing out here?" Another family member's voice shattered whatever fragile moment remained between us before reality came crashing back down hard again without mercy whatsoever. The warmth of the night wrapped around us like a thick blanket, muffling the world outside. Hidden away in the secluded corners of the house, we clung to each other, our breaths mingling in the dim light. The weight of our secret loomed large, but for now, it felt manageable. I could almost forget about the impending chaos that would inevitably follow. As we lay on the couch, the distant sounds of laughter from my family filtered through the walls. They were blissfully unaware of what transpired in this corner of their vacation home. I found comfort in those moments, even as guilt gnawed at my insides. The thrill of being together was intoxicating, yet it was underscored by a deep-seated fear that we could be discovered at any moment. "Do you think they'll notice?" he whispered, breaking the silence that had settled between us like an old friend. I turned my head slightly to meet his gaze. "Not if we're careful," I replied, though uncertainty tinged my voice. My heart raced at the thought of being caught. It felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm. Moments passed in silence as I contemplated our choices. Each stolen glance and shared laugh had led us here, into this tangled web of emotions that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. We had crossed an invisible line that would change everything if discovered. Just then, a loud knock echoed through the house, jarring me from my thoughts. My heart dropped into my stomach as panic surged through me. "What was that?" I asked, barely above a whisper. He sat up abruptly, his expression mirroring my alarm. "I don't know," he said cautiously. The knock came again, this time more insistent, and I could hear voices approaching from down the hall. My pulse quickened as dread settled over me like a heavy fog. If one of them walked in now? "We should go back out there," he suggested hesitantly, but I shook my head vehemently. "No. We can't let anyone see us like this." My voice trembled with urgency as I glanced toward the door. Before I could voice another thought, my aunt's voice carried through to us, sharp and indignant. "Where have you two been? We've been looking everywhere for you." My heart raced again. She must have sensed something amiss. The tension in her tone was unmistakable as she continued calling out for us. "Quick! Hide!" I urged, pulling him down behind the couch just as she stepped into the room. "What are you doing here?" she asked sharply when she noticed me sitting alone amid disarray, my hair tousled and clothes slightly askew from our earlier embrace. "Just taking a break," I stammered awkwardly, trying to mask any signs of guilt or embarrassment that threatened to betray me. Her eyes narrowed suspiciously before she shrugged off her concerns and returned to her gathering outside with an exasperated sigh. Relief washed over me as her footsteps faded away, however, it was short-lived as reality crashed back in waves. "I can't keep doing this," he murmured softly beside me once we were alone again. "What do you mean?" I asked quietly, trying to gauge his thoughts while still keeping an ear out for any returning family members. Whatever this is between us, it's not sustainable." His tone held an edge of frustration mixed with vulnerability that struck deep within me. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I pondered his words carefully while feeling a mixture of sadness and fear bubbling within me. Could we really continue on this path without facing dire consequences? The thrill had been intoxicating until now. The thought of losing everything made my chest tighten painfully. "I don't want to lose you," I finally admitted after what felt like hours spent in silence together behind that couch, a sanctuary turned prison for our emotions. He reached out tentatively and took my hand in his own, a simple gesture filled with unspoken promises and fears alike. "Then let's figure this out together." The sincerity in his voice stirred something inside me, a flicker of hope amidst despair, but it was quickly overshadowed by nagging doubts about what lay ahead if we pursued this further. As if sensing my hesitation, he leaned closer again and whispered softly against my ear, "We spent the night together, remember?" The memory flooded back vividly, the warmth of his body next to mine under those sheets. The way our laughter echoed softly into dawn's embrace before reality clawed its way back into focus once more at sunrise light filtering through curtains drawn tight against prying eyes. Suddenly there was another interruption, a louder commotion outside drew both our attentions sharply away from each other's faces toward whatever chaos awaited beyond these walls now closing in around us like an impending storm gathering strength overhead. "Everyone! Come quick!" a cousin shouted breathlessly from somewhere beyond sight. Panic laced their tone with urgency, filling every syllable spoken aloud just then. "What's going on?" My heart raced anew as dread crept back into focus once more. Whatever had happened couldn't be good news given how frantic they sounded right now. "I don't know," he replied nervously while glancing toward where shadows danced across doorways leading out into unknown territory filled with potential danger lurking just beyond reach. "We should find out," I suggested hesitantly despite every instinct urging caution instead. Curiosity peaked alongside fear pushing boundaries further than ever before, now threatening everything we held dear. Together we crept cautiously toward sounds echoing all around, my mind racing ahead, conjuring images far worse than anything reality might present upon discovery waiting just beyond, doors opening wide inviting chaos inside. As we stepped outside into blinding daylight illuminating all around us so vividly, I caught sight immediately. Family members gathered tightly together, whispering furiously amongst themselves while casting furtive glances toward where we stood uncertainly apart from them all, now exposed under scrutiny brightened harshly by sunlight glaring down upon secrets hidden darkly beneath layers woven tightly throughout years past, long forgotten until today. "What happened?" My voice barely broke through noise surrounding us while anxiety gripped tightly around every heartbeat, pounding wildly within chest, racing faster than ever before. Before anyone could answer fully or offer explanations needed most urgently, another family member rushed forward breathless, carrying news laden heavy enough already, threatening fallout cascading downward swiftly toward everyone gathered here today. Words spoken next would alter lives forevermore, changing everything irrevocably henceforth. "Mom just found something shocking," they exclaimed breathlessly, causing gasps rippling outward across faces staring wide-eyed back toward one another, awaiting answers desperately needed right now amidst turmoil rising swiftly all around them. And then came realization crashing down hard against fragile hearts beating wildly beneath surfaces worn thin, already fraying edges threatening to unravel completely at last, finally exposing truths long buried deep below ground level, once hidden safely away from prying eyes watching closely, waiting silently patiently until moments arrived when exposure became inevitable, leaving nothing left untouched anymore ever again thereafter. The air in the house felt thick with unspoken words and hidden tensions. My partner had become increasingly perceptive, his brow furrowing at moments when I thought I had masked my feelings well. The laughter and chatter of family members seemed to echo hollowly around me, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within. "Are you okay?" he asked one evening, concern etched on his face as we sat together on the couch. I could feel my heart racing, a dissonance between the warmth of his presence and the turmoil that consumed me. "Just tired," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "It's been a long day." He nodded but didn't seem convinced. "You've been off lately. Is everything all right?" I wanted to tell him everything, to spill the secrets that felt like stones lodged in my throat. But how could I explain the connection I had forged with someone so forbidden? The guilt weighed heavily on me, yet there was an undeniable pull toward what was hidden. As night fell, an impromptu family meeting was called in the living room. The atmosphere shifted, laughter faded into murmurs of concern as family members gathered around. The topic was vague at first, just casual updates about work and life, but soon turned toward something darker. "I heard some unsettling rumors," one of my cousins said, glancing around as if gauging reactions. "Has anyone else noticed how distant some people have been?" My heart raced again, panic setting in as I exchanged glances with him across the room. He looked just as alarmed. Our secret felt exposed even if no one had named it yet. "Maybe it's just vacation fatigue," another cousin chimed in, trying to lighten the mood. "We all have our moments." But that did little to ease the tension suffocating us all. As conversations continued around me, I found myself tuning out their voices, lost in my thoughts about what would happen if everything came crashing down. Later that night, after everyone had retreated to their rooms, I found myself unable to sleep. The weight of my choices bore down heavily on me like a boulder pressing against my chest. I slipped out into the cool night air, hoping for clarity amidst the stars twinkling above. I wandered outside toward a secluded spot near the red rock formations that surrounded our vacation home. It was quiet here, just the rustle of leaves and distant sounds of crickets filling the silence. But solitude offered little comfort. Instead, it intensified my sense of entrapment. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me and turned to see him approaching cautiously from inside the house. His expression mirrored mine, an uneasy blend of desire and fear. "What are you doing out here?" he asked softly, stepping closer. "I needed air," I responded, though it felt like a lie wrapped in truth. He hesitated before taking another step forward until we stood mere inches apart under the vastness of night sky. "I can't stop thinking about you," he confessed quietly. The words hung heavy between us like a promise waiting to be fulfilled or broken beyond repair. "I shouldn't be feeling this way," I whispered back, though deep down there was an undeniable thrill coursing through me at his admission. His gaze locked onto mine with intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "But you do." Before logic could intervene or guilt take hold again, he reached for me gently, a tentative touch that ignited something deep within me once more. In that moment of vulnerability under starlit skies surrounded by ancient rocks bearing witness to our turmoil and desire, we kissed. The warmth spread through my body as if awakening every nerve ending long dulled by routine and expectation. It felt both liberating and terrifying all at once. But reality rushed back swiftly like an unwelcome tide pulling away from blissful shores. The knowledge that this couldn't last loomed over us like dark clouds ready to unleash a storm at any moment. I pulled away abruptly as if burned by fire too hot to touch for long. Our breaths mingled in shaky anticipation while fear crept back into focus again. "We can't keep doing this," I murmured urgently but with longing still laced within each word spoken aloud between us now hanging precariously in silence filled only by whispers carried off into darkness surrounding us both. As we stood together grappling with emotions swirling wildly around us like leaves caught up in autumn winds outside this momentary bubble we'd created for ourselves, it began feeling increasingly fragile. A sudden phone call shattered whatever remaining calm lingered between us like glass breaking against stone floors echoing harshly throughout empty spaces left behind where warmth had thrived moments earlier. "Mom?" My voice trembled slightly upon answering. Dread coiled tightly inside like a spring ready to snap loose any second now waiting impatiently for news which might alter everything irrevocably forevermore. "Something's happened," she said breathlessly on other end, her tone urgent enough sending chills racing up spine instantly making heart race quicker than before pounding against ribcage demanding answers only she could provide right now. "What is it?" Panic surged through me as dread settled deeper within bones already heavy-laden under weighty burdens carried forth too long without respite nor relief ever sought after until now suddenly faced with harsh realities threatening existence altogether shattering illusions, built upon fragile foundations laid bare before prying eyes watching closely waiting silently patiently until moments arrived when exposure became inevitable leaving nothing left untouched anymore ever again thereafter. "I need you home right away," she insisted firmly cutting through noise surrounding us both leaving no room for debate nor hesitation lingering beyond those few short words spoken aloud resounding loudly echoing throughout empty spaces left behind where warmth thrived moments earlier. Trapped, between desires unfulfilled yet hauntingly present alongside obligations pressing forth relentlessly demanding attention now more than ever before. I stood by the window, the sun casting long shadows across the room, as my mother's voice echoed in my mind. Her insistence on my immediate return felt like a noose tightening around my neck. I had always respected her opinions, but now, with everything that had unfolded, I questioned whether I could continue to live under her expectations. The air was thick with tension. I glanced at the door, half expecting him to walk in. Each moment spent apart felt agonizingly long, yet the thought of facing him again filled me with both excitement and dread. How could we go back to normal after everything? The laughter shared over family meals now seemed tainted by secrets. "Are you listening?" My mother's voice broke through my thoughts again, more insistent this time. "Yes," I replied absently, still staring out at the red rocks glowing in the distance. They had become a symbol of everything beautiful yet unattainable in my life. "Your partner is worried about you," she continued. "You've been distant." Distant? That was putting it mildly. I felt like a ghost wandering through a house filled with memories that no longer belonged to me. I wanted to scream that it wasn't just about being distant, it was about grappling with feelings that defied logic and familial boundaries. "I'm fine," I said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. She sighed heavily, a sound filled with concern and unspoken disappointment. "You know we're all here for you." I wanted to believe her words but felt an overwhelming urge to retreat into myself. The emotional connection I had forged was intoxicating yet terrifying. It blurred lines and created rifts where there had once been only harmony. As if sensing the shift in our conversation, she changed tactics. "Have you spoken to your cousin lately? She mentioned how much she misses you." Her words tugged at something deep inside me, a flicker of guilt ignited by thoughts of family loyalty clashing against personal desires. My cousin had always been supportive. She deserved better than a fractured relationship born from hidden truths. "Not recently," I murmured, avoiding her gaze as shame washed over me. Just then, there was a knock at the door. My heart raced as I turned towards it, hoping against hope that it might be him, an unexpected reprieve from this heavy conversation. "Come in," I called out weakly. The door creaked open slowly, revealing him standing there with an uncertain expression on his face. His presence brought an electric charge into the room that made everything else fade away momentarily. "Can we talk?" he asked softly, glancing briefly at my mother before focusing back on me. My mother's eyes darted between us before she nodded curtly and exited the room. The door clicked shut behind her, leaving us alone in an atmosphere thick with unspoken words and unresolved tension. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he started awkwardly, his hands shoved deep into his pockets as if seeking comfort from their confines. "It's okay," I replied quietly, unsure how to bridge the chasm between us created by our choices and circumstances. He took a step closer but hesitated as if afraid of crossing an invisible line drawn by our family's expectations. "I've been thinking about what happened, about us." Those words hung between us like a fragile thread. One wrong move could snap it entirely. My heart raced as memories flooded back, stolen moments filled with laughter and quiet confessions shared beneath starlit skies. But alongside those memories came guilt, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me relentlessly. "I can't stop thinking about you," he continued cautiously. "But, what does this mean for us?" That question loomed large. It demanded answers that neither of us were prepared to give voice to just yet. What did it mean? It meant navigating treacherous waters where love collided violently with duty, a path fraught with peril and uncertainty. "I don't know," I admitted finally, feeling raw and exposed under his gaze. "Everything feels so complicated right now." His expression shifted from hopefulness to frustration in an instant, a reflection of my own internal struggle mirrored back at me. "Do you want this?" he pressed gently but firmly. The question struck deep within me like an arrow finding its mark. Was this worth risking everything for? The thrill of our connection battled fiercely against loyalty and familial ties woven tightly around my heart. "I want something different," I confessed slowly, weighing each word carefully before letting them escape into the air between us like fragile glass ornaments hung upon a tree branch ready to shatter at any moment's touch. He stepped closer still until there was barely any space left between us, an intimacy charged with possibility yet tinged with danger lurking just beyond reach. "We have to be careful," he murmured almost instinctively, as though echoing thoughts running rampant through both our minds simultaneously, thoughts filled not only with desire but fear too, fear of discovery, fear of losing everything we held dear, fear of becoming pariahs within our own family unit because of choices made away from prying eyes watching closely, always ready to pounce upon perceived transgressions committed against sacred bonds established over decades past. Just then, a loud thud reverberated through the walls, followed by muffled voices drifting from outside. My mother's voice rising above others, laden heavily laced with urgency mixed alongside confusion, spilling forth into open spaces surrounding us both, now cocooned within these four walls built around love lost amidst tangled webs spun intricately throughout generations past. "What's happening?" he asked sharply, glancing toward the door, suddenly aware that our bubble had burst violently without warning, leaving shards scattered across floorboards beneath feet now frozen, still caught up within moments lost forevermore. "I don't know." Panic surged through me as realization dawned upon us both simultaneously. We couldn't hide forever. Secrets would emerge eventually, dragging everyone down along paths paved, darkened corners where light dared not tread lightly anymore. The door swung open abruptly, revealing my mother standing there wide-eyed alongside others gathered behind her, looking equally shocked, their expressions reading betrayal writ large across faces once familiar, now twisted grotesquely into masks reflecting horror mixed together, disbelief swirling around them all like storm clouds brewing ominously overhead, threatening rain down upon unsuspecting souls caught unaware amidst chaos unfolding rapidly before their very eyes. And in that moment, I understood clearly, there would be no escaping consequences stemming forth from choices made under cover, darkness hiding away, secrets too heavy carried alone without support found anywhere nearby. The silence in the room was deafening, punctuated only by the sound of my heartbeat thrumming wildly in my chest. My mother's eyes darted between us, taking in the scene like a painter assessing a chaotic canvas. The tension was palpable, thick enough to slice through with a knife. "What is going on here?" she finally demanded, her voice trembling slightly but laced with authority. The question hung in the air, heavy with accusation and disbelief. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. I glanced at him, his face mirroring my own turmoil, confusion mixed with fear and an undeniable spark of defiance. We had crossed a line that felt both exhilarating and terrifying, and now we were exposed. "Mom, it's not what it looks like," he stammered, desperation creeping into his tone. But how could she possibly understand? How could anyone comprehend the complexities of what had unfolded in that secluded house? "Not what it looks like." My mother scoffed, her arms crossing tightly over her chest as if to shield herself from the reality before her. "You're both adults. You know exactly what this looks like." I felt the weight of her disappointment crushing down on me. This wasn't just about our secret, it was about family ties unraveling before our very eyes. I could sense the impending storm brewing within our family dynamic, a tempest fueled by betrayal. In that moment of chaos, I thought back to how this had all begun, how a simple family vacation had morphed into something unrecognizable. The picturesque red rocks outside seemed so distant now, their beauty overshadowed by the turmoil inside our home. "Mom," I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "We didn't mean for this to happen." It sounded weak even to my own ears. "Didn't mean for what?" she shot back, her voice rising as anger flared within her. "To betray your partner? To ruin everything we've built as a family?" Her words struck deep, each syllable landing like a blow against my conscience. I felt the guilt wash over me anew, mingling with anger at myself for allowing this to spiral so far out of control. "I can't believe you would do this," she continued, shaking her head in disbelief. "What were you thinking?" Another voice chimed in from behind her, my partner's incredulous tone cutting through the tension like glass shattering against stone. "You've changed," he said flatly, eyes narrowed as he focused on me rather than the situation at hand. "I haven't changed," I protested weakly, even as I felt the truth of his words clawing at me from within. "You have," he insisted. "You're not the same person who left for this trip." His accusation hung heavily in the air between us, a reminder that perhaps my transformation wasn't just emotional but had seeped into every facet of who I was becoming. My mother's gaze shifted toward him now, her expression shifting from shock to anger as if realizing he was part of this twisted narrative too. "And you," she spat out with disdain directed at him. "How could you take advantage of her?" The accusation stung more than any physical blow could have managed. It felt unjustified yet somehow accurate all at once. In that moment of confrontation and chaos unfolding around us, it struck me, we weren't just facing familial disappointment, we were standing on the precipice of something much larger than ourselves, a fracture within our family that threatened to widen into an unbridgeable chasm. "Mom," I said again more firmly now as clarity began to seep through my fogged thoughts. "This isn't just about us." She opened her mouth to retort but paused instead, her brow furrowing slightly as if contemplating my words rather than dismissing them outright. "What do you mean?" she asked slowly. This connection we share goes deeper than mere attraction," I explained carefully while glancing toward him for support, a silent plea for understanding amidst confusion swirling around us all like leaves caught in an autumn windstorm. He nodded slowly beside me. Perhaps he too sensed there was more at stake than mere infidelity or betrayal. It was about understanding desires unvoiced and emotions tangled together beneath layers built over years spent navigating familial expectations alongside personal fulfillment. Then came another twist. The sound of footsteps approaching from behind us drew attention away momentarily from our heated exchange. The door creaking open wider revealed another family member stepping into view, my cousin. The very mother who bore him into existence, the one whose son stood beside me now caught up amidst this storm threatening everything dear. "What is happening here?" she asked sharply upon entering, a frown etched across her face as though sensing tension crackling through air thick enough to ignite flames if left unchecked any longer. Her arrival added fuel onto an already blazing fire. Suddenly we were not just individuals grappling with emotions but participants in an unfolding drama involving generations intertwined yet fraying at seams stretched too thin by secrets kept hidden away until they could no longer remain buried beneath surface appearances crafted over decades spent together as family units striving towards harmony while battling inner demons lurking just below surface calmness maintained outwardly for sake. Appearances alone. "I think it's best if we all sit down and talk about this," I suggested tentatively while feeling urgency pressing against me. An instinct urging resolution before matters escalated beyond control, further fracturing bonds meant to hold us together during tumultuous times faced collectively throughout life's unpredictable journey ahead. But before anyone could respond or agree upon course forward, the door swung open once more revealing yet another figure stepping inside, my partner's father, a man whose presence brought an entirely new layer onto already complex web spun tight around us all. "What's going on?" he asked bluntly, eyes scanning faces present filled with confusion tinged by anger intertwined seamlessly alongside disbelief radiating outward from each individual standing frozen amidst chaos unfolding rapidly around them. I stood there caught between two worlds. One anchored firmly within familial ties woven intricately together through shared history while simultaneously teetering upon brink, uncertainty looming ahead threatening everything held dear should choices made continue spiraling downward unchecked. And so there we were, all standing upon precipice teetering uncertainly above abyss waiting patiently for someone among us willing enough take leap forward toward unknown depths lying below awaiting discovery. The air was thick with tension, a palpable weight that settled in the room as my mother's shocked expression morphed into something more complex. I stood frozen, caught between the remnants of our shared family life and the chaos of what had just unfolded. The walls seemed to close in, the vibrant colors of Sedona's landscape outside fading into a blur as reality crashed down around us. "What have you done?" she finally uttered, her voice trembling. It wasn't just a question, it was an accusation wrapped in disbelief. I could see the hurt reflected in her eyes, a mirror of my own turmoil. I wanted to explain, to articulate the confusion that had led me to this moment. But the words eluded me, trapped beneath layers of guilt and fear. The silence stretched on, heavy and suffocating. My partner stood nearby, his face pale as he absorbed the scene before him. The betrayal hung thick in the air between us like an uninvited guest. I could sense his struggle to comprehend how we had arrived at this juncture, how a simple family vacation had spiraled into such a catastrophic unveiling. "Why?" he finally managed to ask, his voice barely above a whisper. I opened my mouth to respond but found no answer that could encapsulate everything, a lifetime of choices leading up to this singular moment. Instead, I felt anger rising within me, not directed at him but at the circumstances that had conspired against us all. My mother's expression shifted as she turned her gaze from me to him, realization dawning like an unwelcome sunrise. "You? With him?" Her disbelief was now tinged with something darker, disappointment mingling with betrayal. The room felt smaller than before as emotions swirled around us like a tempest. "This isn't what it looks like," I attempted to say, but even I didn't believe it anymore. "It looks like you've thrown away everything for this," she spat out bitterly, gesturing between us. The pain in her voice cut deeper than any words could convey. I took a step forward, desperate for understanding or perhaps forgiveness. "Mom, please understand." "Understand what?" "That you've chosen pleasure over family? Over loyalty?" Her voice rose with each word until it echoed off the walls. I glanced at my partner, his eyes were filled with regret and confusion, a mirror of my own feelings swirling inside me. We had crossed lines we never intended to approach, boundaries shattered by fleeting moments of connection that now felt like shackles binding us together in shame. The door swung open suddenly as another family member entered unannounced, an innocent interruption that deepened our collective unease. They paused mid-sentence upon seeing our faces drawn tight with emotion and confusion. "What's going on?" they asked cautiously. I felt exposed under their gaze, our secret laid bare before them like an open wound. My heart raced as I contemplated how many others might soon know of our indiscretions. "I think it's time we all talked," my mother said sharply, her tone brokering no argument as she ushered everyone into the living area where we could no longer hide behind closed doors or whispered conversations. As we settled into uncomfortable chairs scattered around the room, I braced myself for what lay ahead, a reckoning that would undoubtedly fracture our already tenuous familial bonds further still. "We need honesty," my mother declared firmly, her gaze sweeping over each person present before landing back on me again. "No more secrets." The words hung heavily in the air as if they were an ultimatum rather than an invitation for dialogue. My heart raced faster now, every beat echoed potential consequences, of relationships lost or irreparably changed by this revelation. "You can't just throw everything away because you're feeling whatever this is," another family member interjected quietly but firmly, eyes darting nervously between us all. I wanted to scream back that they didn't understand, that they couldn't possibly comprehend how complex emotions could twist and turn until they became unrecognizable even to oneself, but instead found myself nodding silently in agreement with their sentiment while feeling utterly trapped within my own choices. "I never meant for any of this," I finally whispered into the charged silence that enveloped us once more. "And yet here we are," my partner said quietly beside me, a reminder of both connection and calamity entwined together irrevocably now. Tension crackled through every corner of that room as accusations simmered just beneath surface-level politeness, masking deeper wounds festering within each heart present there today. The very fabric holding our family together threatened by revelations long buried beneath years' worth of shared memories, now tainted forevermore by betrayal and desire intertwined dangerously close together. The discussion spiraled further into chaos, Voices rose and fell like waves crashing against rocks along Sedona's shores outside, while emotions ran high amongst those gathered within walls meant for comfort but now felt oppressive instead. A sanctuary turned prison where truth demanded its due reckoning from each person present, willing enough face it head-on despite fears lurking just beyond sight waiting patiently. In one heated moment, amid accusations flying fast and furious across familial lines drawn ever tighter around us all, the door swung open once more, revealing another unexpected visitor who stepped inside uninvited yet again, their presence bringing with them an air of authority cloaked beneath casual indifference which only added fuel onto flames already burning wildly out control amidst turmoil raging forth unchecked. It was then everything shifted irrevocably. Alliances forged through shared history began fraying at edges worn thin by secrets exposed nakedly under harsh light, illuminating shadows cast long across lives intertwined deeply yet precariously balanced upon fragile threads spun from love lost somewhere along way. And at last, standing there among them all, I realized choices made would reverberate far beyond mere moments spent alone together, hidden away behind closed doors. Choices leading down paths uncharted, fraught dangers lying ahead, waiting patiently ready pounce upon unsuspecting hearts once bound tightly together, now teetering precariously upon brink, uncertainty looming ever larger, threatening everything held dear should decisions continue spiraling downward unchecked. As uncertainty loomed large above, my heart raced faster still, knowing well enough nothing would remain unchanged after today. Nothing except perhaps one final choice lingering just outreach, beckoning softly, urging forward toward unknown depths lying below, awaiting discovery.